What's up, Epic 7? We're back for the Nightmare of Oceans. The new Rift event is up and live. I'm wearing my tinfoil hat because my Twitch chat this morning told me they wanted me to. So here we go. Let's dive into Rift. Great news, everybody. Rift this season is so much easier than last season, like an order of magnitude easier. You're going to love how easy this event is to farm for those of you who have the units and the gear. Remember, everybody, this is endgame PvE. This is not for brand new or mid-game players. I think you're going to probably want at least a year under your belt before you tackle this. If you can't handle Rift, that's okay. It is only a slightly more efficient farm than doing regular hunts, so focus on your best return on investment. It is better to clear your normal hunts consistently than to spend hundreds of stamina clearing Rift once. So be smart about it, guys. Now, first things first, I am only Rift level 2. When you are Rift level 1, the boss already has 80% of its health already removed, so they make it pretty easy to force your way through. Just put a really good tank in the front, like Mort or Senya, or just somebody that can take a pounding. Maybe put them on sort of a Zera artifact so that they are that much more resistant to damage, and then just force it down. It may take 1 or 2 entries, but get it done so that you can get to Rift Control level 2. Once you're at Rift Control level 2, the Rift Fragments unlock. Now there is a Rift Fragment that after being attacked, when your health is 40% or less, it dispels all debuffs from the allies and grants a barrier. This might be the best option if you don't run a Soul Weaver. I think down the road when we're looking for burst damage, we're going to want to run this one. So that we can run without a Soul Weaver and we can rely just on our frontline unit to do the healing, a Bloodstone unit to do the healing. But for me, my favorite one right now is when a front row warrior attacks, recovers the health of all allies proportional to the damage dealt. If you have Wukong, this is the fragment that you want. If you don't have Wukong, maybe you go with this one or with the boosting to your damage for your team so that you can try to burst down even faster and overcome the fact that you're missing Wukong. As for the team, first and most important unit on the team is Wukong. If you don't have Wukong, I think you'll still be able to farm this. It's just going to be a lot slower. The teams that I put together that don't involve Wukong all have done about half of the damage or they failed. So I've got to work on a way to get that more stable. Once I've got that, I will post a video on it and let you know. I'm sure we'll find a way forward so you can farm this without Wukong. Even if it is half as fast, it's still worth farming. Because mind you, each additional attempt is half the cost of what it was last time. So really, doing it 3 times this season is like doing it 2 times last season. Doing it 4 times is like doing it 3 times last season. And we found that 3 times last season was still worth doing, so doing it 4 times, 4 turn clears, should still be worth farming. So hopefully we find a way forward for those of you who are unlucky enough to get Wukong. But if you have Wukong, this is how I build him. This is my Wukong. I put him on a rage set. I gave him as much damage as I could. I did decide to go with attack boots. I'm finding it works a little bit better. I'm clearing a little bit deeper than with speed boots, but speed boots does increase the stability by letting him get his barriers up a little bit more often. You play with that and figure out what works best for you. I do think you want this level of tankiness on him. I think if you go any thinner than this, you risk being one-shot by the boss if you don't proc your 50% crit and your 50% pen, anti-crit and anti-pen. If both of those don't proc, you get one shot. I've put him on Victorious Flag. A little bit of a departure from what I expected. I expected his own artifact or Snow Crystal to be best in slot, but I found that the 16% mitigation really seems to top it off, and the extra damage that this artifact gives him is just too good to walk away from. So mad thanks to Inori for giving the idea for this artifact. It's worked out really, really well. The next, second most important unit on the team is Bellona. If you don't have Bellona, hey, her banner's up right now. Total coincidence, I'm sure, but Bellona really helps pull Rift together. Bellona is here predominantly because she has a defense break on her S3 and it's an AOE attack and she does really good damage. Also, her S2 is an AOE attack as well, and she can get an extra attack that triggers Razorwind Fan to give us an additional chance to apply defense breaks. It's a lot of AoE attacks coming off of this girl. I have put her on Bloodstone. You can try running her on the damage artifact. If you want to run her on the damage artifact, you may want to consider changing your Rift controller to the HP boosting Rift controller. I'll get into the Rift controllers in just a minute. I do like her on this EE, the second one that reduces the cooldown of Butterfly Fan, more chances for AoEs, more chances for defense breaks. Too good to walk away from. She needs 105% effectiveness. I know, it's a lot to put on a damage dealer. Do your best. You want her to be the third to go on your team. You want your cleanser to cleanse, you want your buffer to buff, then you want Bellona to go and defense break. So she is tuned to go third in my order of operations. 100% crit chance, much damage as I could give her. A little bit more bulk would sure be appreciated because sometimes she dies right at the end, but so far with Bloodstone, she's been hanging in there. The next unit on the team is your second fastest unit. You want this unit to go after the cleanser so she can attack buff the whole team. Now, Vivian is a powerhouse, and the reason that we want Vivian is because the skill cooldown on her S2 is only 2 turns. That means if Etika Scepter procs, and it will 43% of the time, she'll just be able to spam and cycle her S2, and the only time she's not going to AoE S2 is when she's taking a break to S3 and attack buff your whole team. Now initially we were using Mui in this position, and if you don't have Vivian, Mui is an acceptable alternative. Mui brings the same kind of attack buff for 3 turns to the whole team. No immunity, but hey, you've got Bernard or Ray, right? No immunity, but her S2 is also an AoE attack, so it's 2 AoE attacks. So I thought this is going to lower the tentacles even faster. But the skill cooldown, it's a 6-turn cooldown and a 4-turn cooldown. You wind up just doing a lot of S1s after she's got done with her S2 and S3. And that's nice with the target, but it does reduce the damage and it does reduce the number of tentacles we're able to remove. The cycling on Vivian is too good to ignore, so I have found that Vivian is just pound for pound better damage. Something else about Vivian that we should point out, her S2, her AoE attack is the 2-turn cooldown. If you go and check your Rift controllers, your Rift fragments, look at this RC8 fragment. It's Vivian's fragment. Holy crap, it's Vivian's fragment. At the start of the turn, decrease skill cooldown of skill 2 by 1 turn. That means she will always have her S2 ready. She will spam this S2. She no longer needs Etika Scepter. I'll be able to replace Etika Scepter with Caladra and just have her constantly spam her S2 for maximum damage. I think that's why at RC8, we're going to get to the point where we just one-shot Rift. It's no longer two-turn entries. Now, as for your top Rift fragment, right now I've got it on the one where where we do extra damage to all enemies. 30% chance to boost damage to all enemies. If you find you are having survivability issues, change it to this one where the front row warrior will heal. This will let Wukong heal your team. But with Bellona on Bloodstone and with Bernard on a healing artifact, I found that we can go ahead and take this extra 30% damage and burst the fight down even further. But go with stability if you need it. Pick which one works best for how your team is built. And for Bernard. Bernard is hands down the best Soul Weaver for this, mostly because his S1 is an AoE attack that AoE heals. Now, if you don't have Bernard, the best replacement for Bernard is Ray. Now, Ray, like Bernard, you're going to want to have 220% effect resistance. That way he doesn't get restricted or debuffed. Ray will use his S3 cleanse and apply immunity just like Bernard. The biggest difference is Ray doesn't have an AoE attack on his S1. I would put Ray on a healing artifact, or you could put him on Midnight Bloom to lower the crit demands of the entire team. And if you're going to do that, though, you really want to consider putting the Rift the Rift fragment on the one that lets Wukong be your supplemental healer. I'm not sure Ray is going to be able to keep up with the healing, but you can give it a try. An alternate to Ray, if you don't have Ray or Bernard, is you could run Destina. Again, with Destina, you want the 220% effect resistance. Consider a heal boosting artifact, or you could run Touch of Records. You could run Midnight Bloom to keep everybody's crit chance demands down a little bit, make it easier to build your units. If you run Destina, have her on really any EE, but I like the one that cycles her a little faster. And the third and final option, if you don't have any of these units, is Ocean Breeze Lulika. Now be aware that Ocean Breeze Lulika only cleanses 2 debuffs, so you will need Doctor's Bag to get rid of that third debuff. This will also help her with her healing. Again, 220% effect resistance, fastest unit on your team. But Bernard himself, if you've got Bernard, his gear requirement's actually pretty low. Make sure he's the fastest unit on your team and give him 220% effect resistance. If you're not running the Rift Fragment that heals your team, I strongly recommend Touch of Rekos. This will help keep your team healthy. If you don't have Touch of Rekos, Guardian Ice Crystal would also work in its place. They're basically the same artifact, but that will help you keep your team healthy. You could also try Shamadra Staff to boost the healing. I think without this, you might have trouble keeping Wukong and some of your other teammates alive. Now, as for the pet, a lot of people have asked me, what skills do I put on my pet? Well, the number one most important skill is the chance to get an extra piece of equipment. The entire reason you're doing Rift is for the additional piece of equipment, so do that. Next, most important, is the chance to receive double Rift energy and season score. The double Rift energy is going to level up your Rift controller level faster. You got a chance to double tap the energy and get 60 points instead of just 30. That's going to drive your Rift up faster. That's going to get you to Vivian's relic faster. It's going to get you to some of these high-end relics that are going to let you clear even faster. And the double season rewards are going to get your battle pass done even faster. Now, eventually you'll hit Rift Controller 21 and you'll have cleared out the battle pass, and that skill won't do anything for you at all. If you want to be over the top min-maxing, you can have a second pet on deck that has all of the Rift skills on it, so that when you get to RC21, you can swap it. But let me show you why that's not a big deal, right? The third skill that you should have, and this one's totally optional, is the 20% chance to get an extra charm. That's really nice. We are always struggling for charms, and a 20% chance is a pretty high proc rate. Mind you that this is upon defeating the boss, not upon each fight. It's upon killing the boss, but if we start doing one-turn clears, it's basically every fight. So that's a lot of charms. The other skill is 5% chance for additional reforged mats. Is it really worth building a whole ass other Rift pet just for 5% chance for reforged mats? That is your call. I did it because I don't know. I'm the guy wearing the tinfoil hat on a YouTube video, so you figure that out yourself. But I would strongly recommend these 3 skills and just walk away. And if you can't get this one, if you can just do double S, get the extra Rift score and the extra equipment and call it a day. This one is completely optional, and doing this is min-maxing to an extreme. So, now that I got my Rift pet in place, we will fire up the fight and see how it goes. At the start of the fight, the Kraken unleashes a furious attack, debuffing your entire team except Bernard, who has the effect resistance to survive. He cleanses everybody, paving the way for Vivian to use her S3 to give everybody a 3-turn attack buff. This will allow Bellona to use her S3. Bloodstone should top off some of the damage on Wukong, who will give himself a barrier, and this helps with survivability. Every single time you do an AOE attack, you remove one of these tentacles and replace it with a sever. A sever is like your own personal rage set and a debuff. Every single one of these increases AOE damage by 30%. That is huge. Check out how hard Wukong hits after this attack. $126k damage. The Kraken throws a boat at us, and this unfortunately will cleanse almost all of the severs and our defense break. Vivian reapplies the attack buff to everybody and the immunity, getting rid of the last of the severs, but unfortunately, even though all the severs are gone, this skill brings them right back again. Bellona does her S2 attack, getting rid of another sever. And although we don't have defense break anymore, we're still doing pretty good damage. We start chipping away at the severs, increasing the damage we do with each tentacle gone and sever established. We've passed the ×8 mark. ×8 is the 50% mark, and if you can get it to the point where it says ×8 left up here, then you know that you're good to do this in 2-turn entries or less. One more big hit and we're down to 5. With a splashback. And we're all out. 29.49 in a single entry. And mind you guys, I'm at Rift Core number 2. Every time your Rift controller level goes up, you get 4% more damage dealt. Every single level. So very, very, very soon. I would say definitely by Rift Core 8, when we pick up this mage one, we will definitely be at the point where we're one-shotting this thing. If you find your survivability is dodgy or you do not have Bloodstone, then pick up this one here and turn Wukong into your healer. You lose 30% damage, but you gain stability, and that is the most important thing to clearing this. I hope you guys have enjoyed this team and the alternates that I've offered you. I will work on a way to farm this without Wukong later, and as I come up with new ways to run this that are more efficient, I will put those videos out as well. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments section. If you have teams of your own that you would like to show off, mention those too. I'm sure people would love to see your ideas, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great one, everybody.